welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Michelle. I am 31 years old, living in Toronto, Canada, and I have been living with type 1 diabetes since I was 12 years old. I am currently 35 weeks pregnant, so I have 3 weeks to go. At my OB clinic, they have a protocol that they induce around 38 weeks, so I am planning on being induced, but I mean, who knows what happens? She might come early. Honestly, I don't really care how she comes into this world as long as she is safe and healthy, but we are super excited for her to make her big entrance and for her to finally be here. Definitely getting bigger. She's running out of room in there, so instead of feeling like harder kicks, I'm just feeling more general movements. My belly will kind of ripple. And you can see I have my site in my arm today. And that is actually what today's video is about. It's about my favorite insulin pump sites and Dexcom sites during pregnancy, because a lot of people have been asking about this. How do you wear your insulin pump when you have a belly? And it definitely is a challenge. You have to get creative. We are in a little bit of a heat wave right now. It's about 40 degrees Celsius today, so just trying to stay hydrated here. Also, another note, this might be my last video I make before I give birth. I just don't know when she's coming, and I feel like I'm gonna have to say this for every video. If you see I'm gone for a long time after this video, I've had a baby. Okay, so I wear the t:slim X2 insulin pump with the Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor. I've had this combo for a few years now. I absolutely love it, and I'm honestly so grateful to have access to this technology. I fully realize that not everybody does. So as I said before, I've had to get quite creative with my sites, both Dexcom and insulin pump, throughout this pregnancy because of my growing belly and because of restricted sleeping positions. So I wanted to make a quick, fun type 1 diabetes pregnancy video for you all, just showing you what sites have been working for me. Please remember, as I always say in pretty much every single video I make, all of us living with diabetes are so different. So something that is working well for me might not work well for you at all. So please just keep this in mind. I also need to give a really big disclaimer here about the Dexcom sites, because some of them are actually not approved by Dexcom, which means that the safety and accuracy haven't been tested. So whenever I do try Dexcom sites that aren't approved, I'm really just trying those at my own risk, and I'm trying them under the supervision of my doctor. So I always suggest that before you try anything new with your diabetes management, that you always work with your doctor and talk to your doctor. Don't just listen to some random girl on YouTube. One of my favorite pump sites has always been my abdomen. I've said this in so many videos and vlogs on this channel in the past. I find for me, the abdomen is just the absolute best insulin absorption. However, during pregnancy, as your belly starts to stretch, your skin stretches and becomes more taut, and this actually really affects insulin absorption, and I didn't know this before I was pregnant, so I didn't realize I couldn't use my abdomen. I know some women still do and find it works well, but for me it just doesn't work well. I also found that as I got bigger, it got pretty uncomfortable to put a medical device on my abdomen. And then with sleep, as your belly gets bigger, you might be advised by your doctor to not sleep on your back, and this is because your uterus can put pressure on the blood vessels running behind your uterus, which is not good. So you'll hear a lot about sleeping on your side versus your back. So for me, I either choose to sleep on my left side or my right side. My doctor said either side is fine. And this can be a bit tricky because if I've got a device over here, I don't like to sleep on it. And I'll get into that a little bit more in the video, but just positioning the devices has been a bit tricky depending on what side I'm sleeping on. All right, let's start off with my favorite insulin pump site. So that's these sites right here, which delivers the insulin into my body. My absolute favorite site during pregnancy is actually the site I am wearing today, which is the upper outer arm right here. I love this site, and I actually plan on continuing to use it outside of pregnancy. For me, the insulin absorption for this site is amazing. I find that the insulin works relatively quickly and well when I have a site in my upper outer arm. However, this site is definitely a challenge at first, especially with the tubing, because it runs up through your clothes and then just connects into the site here. So it's a challenge when it comes to changing your clothes especially. I will typically unplug my pump before changing just to ensure that I don't accidentally get the tubing caught on anything and rip my site out. This site might also not be a great idea for you if you're a wild sleeper. I'm a relatively still sleeper, so for me, when I sleep at night, I just put my insulin pump beside me in bed on the same side as the arm site. I can imagine that if you are tossing a lot, that this could pull on the tubing. So something to be mindful of if you are a bit of a wild sleeper. My second favorite site in pregnancy has actually been my upper outer thigh. So this is something that I hadn't really tried too much prior to pregnancy, maybe just 2 to 3 times. And this is because I was always very wary of the insulin absorption here. I don't have a lot of fat on my legs, and so I figured it maybe just wasn't a good spot to put my insulin pump site. However, I found that at the very top of my thighs at the side, there was a good amount of padding. So when I had to get creative during pregnancy, I was like, all right, I'm gonna try my upper thigh again. I did, and it honestly has been a really great site for me during pregnancy. But full disclaimer, I did rip it out maybe 2 times when I first started using this site, especially when I was doing things such as changing or using the bathroom, because if you pull your pants down really quickly, you can easily rip out your site. So you have to be very careful if you have your site on your upper leg when you're changing. Just do everything a little bit slower and with caution. You do get used to having a site there though. And I find this site to be least annoying if you're wearing something like a dress or shorts. So it's definitely a good site for the summer. And then how do I wear my insulin pump itself when I have either the sites on? I typically will have my insulin pump clipped to a little pair of Lululemon boots shorts, just clipped to the waistline, because I like to wear shorts under dresses anyways, just in case they fly up in the wind. And I also have a garter belt from Pump Cases that I wore on my wedding day, and I've used that a lot as well during this pregnancy. You just put it on your leg and the pump slides right in. It's super easy. So I will link the garter belt below, and I'll also link the clip that I have in the back of my insulin pump below, because this does not come with the pump. Okay, that's it for pump sites. Now let's move on to Dexcom. I've definitely mentioned this in other videos, but my absolute favorite Dexcom G6 site is the inside of my upper arm. And this was my favorite site before pregnancy, and it's still my favorite site during pregnancy. It just works really well. I like this site because it's fully out of the way. I personally find it has great accuracy, and I also find that I'm less likely to experience compression lows with this Dexcom site. So for those of you who are wondering what is a compression low, it's when you roll onto your sensor during the night and it causes a false reading. So it will say you're low, but you're really not. I find that this site, I really do not get compression lows easily. It's just kind of like hidden under there, and there's never really a lot of pressure on it. This site is not approved by Dexcom Canada. And also this site is either a love it or hate it in the type 1 diabetes community. I love it. I'm one of those people that swears by this site, but then I have friends that have used this site that absolutely hate it. They find the accuracy is horrible, and I actually know some people who have found it to be quite painful. Once again, it's just so personal, and you kind of just have to try it out for yourself and chat with your diabetes team, your endocrinologist, your nurse about trying it. My second favorite Dexcom site during pregnancy is the outside of my upper arm, which is actually approved in Canada now, which is super exciting. So this is now a Dexcom approved site. I also really like this site because I experience great accuracy with it. It's kind of just out of the way, but I have to say I do have an issue with compression lows, especially if I roll on it in the middle of the night, and especially if it's a new sensor. Let me know in the comments down below if you are finding new sensors are extra sensitive to compression lows, because I find the first night especially very prone to compression lows. So if I do have my Dexcom site on, let's say the outside of my right upper arm, I will make sure that I try to sleep on my left side that night to avoid compression lows. So that's the one hesitation I have about the outside of the upper arm. Otherwise, it is an excellent site. All right, and my third favorite Dexcom site, which is something that is kind of new for me during pregnancy, is the outside of my upper thigh. So kind of in the same area that I talked about for the insulin pump site. So I was never a fan of this Dexcom site until pregnancy, when I forced myself to try it to give my poor arms a break because I was just using them so much. I had only ever used this site a couple times prior to pregnancy, and I never found the accuracy to be that great, but I tried it again and it was actually pretty good, and I ended up liking it. Now, just like the insulin pump site on the leg. This can be a little bit annoying when pulling your pants down to use the bathroom or to change. So you just have to be really careful when you have sights on your upper thighs. Just be mindful when you do change to not do it too aggressively and go slow, and to try to avoid your sights. And lastly, this sight is not approved by Dexcom, so proceed with caution as well. All right, so let's move on to Dexcom insulin pump site combos. So where I like to wear them together. My first favorite combo is actually what I have on today. So on my left arm, I have my insulin pump site on the outside and then my Dexcom site on the inside. I love this combo because they're both in the same place. So when I have my sites on this arm, I just automatically will sleep on my right side and fully avoid this area. And I hope to have my sites here for labor and delivery. We'll obviously see what happens, but I'm hoping to have this placement because apparently I've been told that you need to keep one arm free for blood pressure monitoring and IVs, so it would be good if everything's kind of just on one side. My second favorite combo is having my insulin pump site and my Dexcom on the same upper thigh. Once again, I just like having both sites kind of in one place so that they're together. I can completely avoid them when sleeping. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Michelle, aren't these too close together? Well, according to Dexcom, as long as your sensor is 3 inches away from your insulin pump site, then you should be totally fine. Lastly, in this video, I just want to touch base on sites I did not like, because I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, oh, you forgot to mention some good sites for pregnancy. I didn't mention them because I don't like them. I know that the upper hip here and upper glutes are pretty popular sites during pregnancy. I have a lot of friends who have had babies with type 1 diabetes and they swore by these sites. They loved using their hips and their upper glutes, but for me, these were just not good sites. The insulin absorption was not good. I tried them many times throughout pregnancy, and I found that when I did have my pump site in my hip, I had poor insulin absorption, stubborn high blood sugars, and just more highs than usual. So for me, it was just an obvious decision to not use this site during pregnancy. However, it might work for you. Like I said, what works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. That is it for my favorite sites during pregnancy video. I hope you are all doing well. I might not see you again before I have the baby. We'll see, but I'm hoping to put out at least one more video before the time comes. Thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.